Hello, people. Hello, people. Friday at Glenview. Right, reading today. Let's get that link up in the chat. Um, we're going to do fractions as ratios today. Let's get this going on. Okay, just putting it in the chat. That's all I'm doing over here. Putting that link in the chat. Putting that link in the chat. There we go. Cool beans. All right. Oh my god, and I can see my hair is like so messy. Awesome. Okay. We did it. We did it. We did it. Yeah. Lo hicimos. Nerd, 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 nerd. Is that it? Yeah. Sorry. I'm here. Yeah, that's it. Okay. And thank you, all four of you who are here. It's a very sunny room. It's very lovely. Be great when you guys come back in here. All right. Okay. I was just looking at my thing. All right. We have all 8 of you. Wow. Page 213. I'm going to just jump right in. So, and anyone who wants to catch up can do it on the recording. Last time we met, Henriette Drummond's sister with some astounding stuff. The 4, that's Elvin, Alex, Jin, and Rad. Okay, the 4 lingered outside the building for a few minutes before heading off in separate directions. Elvin was going skateboarding with Rad. Rose, oh no, it wasn't. It was Elvin, Alex, Rose, and Elvin, Alex, Rose, and Jin. Rad wasn't there, but Rose was. Rose had to get home to pack. Alex had to go out with her parents, and Jin was expected back at the bodega. Hey, wait a second, Jin called after Alex, who had already started down the block. We need to talk about our project at some point. We have an outline and a summary due on Monday. Alex seemed fidgety. Can we do it later? My mom already texted me like 10 times asking me where I am. Where are you guys going? She looked down at the sidewalk. Some dinner for my dad's job. I don't want to talk about it. So we're going back to Mystery Girl, Jen thought to herself. Okay, we'll have a good time, I guess. Alex started to walk away, but suddenly turned back. Jen, I need to tell you something, and I've wanted to tell you sooner. But Alvin was so upset that day at the hospital, I didn't think I should bring it up. What is it? Your grandparents' bodega. It's on Markham's list. What? It's on the list. Markham is planning to demolish the bodega. I wanted you to know, so you could be on the lookout. Jen felt the blood rush to her ears. She was so angry. She couldn't even hear what Alex was saying. How could Alex have waited so long to tell her this? Real friends don't keep secrets, and a real friend would have wanted her to have as much time as possible to warn Haramani and Haraboji to fight Markham. Did Alex even consider Jen and Elvin her friends? She wondered. Or were they just her newest charity cases? Jen wasn't sure. She whispered to herself, I can't do this anymore. And before Alex could say anything else, Jen was gone. Chapter 18. Jen was so spooked when she got back to the bodega that she could barely concentrate on her chores. Her eyes darted to the door every time someone came in, wondering if they were spies sent by Markham. And when the produce guy delivered 2 boxes of lettuce with bugs, Jen suspected it was some kind of threat or warning from Markham. While she was helping Halmani and Haraboji pack jars of kimchi for the big order from the Korean embassy, Jen dropped 2 jars before Haramani banished her to the cubby behind the deli counter. Ginny, why are you so jumpy today? She asked. No reason. She wanted to tell her about Markham's list, but she didn't want to worry her grandmother, and if Hadamani already knew, she didn't want to make the bad news worse. Hamani, why do you hate Councilman Markham so much? She frowned and glanced at Hadaboji at the mention of his name. No hate. Very, very disappointed and angry. We have worked hard to bring people together in this neighborhood, and Markham has worked very hard to tear the neighborhood apart again. What do you mean? Your grandmother and I opened our store here many years ago. Oh, Hadaboji cleared his throat. We haven't heard from Hadaboji yet, so this is great. A switch voices, grandpa voice. Your grandmother and I opened the store here many years ago, but it hasn't always been so easy. We didn't always get along with our neighbors. Sometimes it was like we lived on two separate islands, but we spent a lot of time building bridges to connect us. Markham makes people afraid and makes them feel like they have to fight to protect what they have and turn away from their neighbors. He clasps his hands and lacing them all together. Remember this. This is our strength. He's like this. This is our strength. We stand together. If we stand together, Markham can't win. I'll remember that, Hadaboji. She interlaced her own fingers and just looked at them and leaned back in her cubby. Tucked away in her secret space with a cozy pillow to snuggle, grandparents to protect her from scary things and people lurking beyond the deli case. She felt safer and calmer for the moment. But staring down from her clasped hands, she thought about what Hadaboji said with unity, and the uneasiness began to creep back into her. She had made a terrible mistake today when she told Alex that she was off the case. She walked out on her friends. She could call them her friends now when they needed her the most. But Jen wasn't sure. She had to fix this. She reached for her phone to call Alex, but Ulrich was already texting her. I'm so sorry about today. I need to talk to you about everything. Will you come over around noon? I'll text the address later. Jen was relieved. Maybe Alex did care about the friendship. She texted Alex back. I'm really sorry too. I'll be there. Alex knew that she had messed up big time. She had been keeping secrets for too long. She wasn't even sure why she was doing it. At first, she had done it to protect herself. She had an automatic wall that went up when someone knew anything. When most kids found out her family had money, they wanted to be her friend because they thought it would bring them a step closer to being rich and famous. Others made a point of ignoring her, letting her know that her money didn't make her any better than them. Not that she would have ever thought that. Either way, it was easier to keep her distance and be disappointed that no one really saw her. Jen and Elvin weren't like this, though. They were real friends. There, she could do at least well telling the truth. I'm going to turn the lights back on. They turn automatically off. I'm learning about this classroom. There we go. After sending a quick text to Jen, Alex rushed to the neighborhood library. She promised the librarian she'd deliver some books the library was donating to the Harlem hospital. She'd have to hurry so she could make it home in time to attend that fundraiser her parents had it with. That was another thing she hadn't told Jen and Elvin. The fundraiser was for Councilman Markham's re-election campaign. And it was being held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. She felt awful keeping that secret from them. But she swore to herself that she'd come clean about the whole thing when they met tomorrow. She dropped off the books at the hospital. On her way out, the receptionist with the blonde hair and the long pink nails said, "Yoo-hoo, young lady." Me? She bobbed her head up and down, saying yes. You were the one asking about that old man in the coma the other day. You're his niece, right? Yeah. Remember, she's at the hospital, and it's the lady at the front desk. Well, he's awake. I updated the status report myself. I was hoping you'd come in. Alex could have hugged her, but instead she took the receptionist's hand until the woman gently tugged it away. Thank you so much. My family will be so happy. As soon as she was outside, she called Elvin, but there was no answer. She left a message. Elvin, call me ASAP. I have something very important to tell you. Alvin was too busy looking at the photograph that Isabel had given them to notice that his cell phone was ringing. The photo was clutched tightly in his hand as he entered St. Nicholas Park. He scanned the clusters of skater kids, but didn't see Rad. So he sat down on an empty bench and studied the photograph more. He stared into his grandfather's youthful, smiling face. In a month's time, he had knowing nothing about his grandfather, to being the keeper of his legacy. Literally. People kept giving him things to ensure that he would always remember Jacob Morrow. But what exactly was he supposed to remember? Alvin looked up again from the picture and looked around the park. He still didn't see Rad anywhere, but he did spot someone familiar. TJ, the graffiti wunderkind Rad had introduced them to that day that Jen, and Alex broke into the grandfather's apartment. He was walking right toward him, his high top fade even taller than when they first met. Not up for a conversation, Alvin ducked his head down and held the picture up to cover his face until TJ had passed him. Alvin thought the guy seemed kind of dangerous, actually, when they first met. And glancing over the edge of his photo, he saw something that confirmed his suspicion. Shoved in the back of TJ's head was a zigzag pattern, like two lightning bolts. Could TJ have been the guy that pushed Jarvis Monroe around? Zigzag pattern. Alvin had to follow him and find out what he was up to. He trailed TJ out of the park and onto St. Nicholas Avenue. He headed downtown until they reached 125th Street. TJ disappeared into a storefront near the corner. He cut closer to get a look at the front of the building. It was the campaign headquarters of Councilman Geld Markham. What was TJ doing there? Alvin sent a quick text message to Rad, letting him know where he was and his suspicions about TJ, and then crept inside. He found himself in a small waiting area, empty except for a desk and a few multicolored plastic chairs. Campaign leaflets were scattered on the desk, but other than that, there was no sign that anyone actually worked there. Alvin heard voices coming from a back room, and he inched quietly towards the sound. He didn't see anyone. He was starting to think that maybe this wasn't such a good idea for him to be in there alone. He'd come back with Rad and the girls, Alvin decided, and he tried to leave, but he found a hand clamped down on his shoulder. "Can I help you, young man?" "Here to volunteer for the councilman?" It was a kindly-looking older man, tall and lean, neatly trimmed salt and pepper afro grinning down at him, and his face familiar. Alvin's brain snapped into action, even though the rest of his body was frozen to fear. "No volunteering for me. I can't even vote." "I think I'm in the wrong." His voice trailed off mid-sentence as he realized that he had seen this man, or a much younger version of him, in Isabel's photograph. "I'm curious, were you a member of the Invisible Seven? We read about that group in school." A smile spread across his face. "Yes, I was." "Nice that they're still teaching youngbloods about the Invisible Seven." "I love the murals you guys made. We saw some of them, and I heard the painting was discovered by another one of the Invisible Seven, someone named Henriette Drummond, like she was the leader of them, right?" His eyes hardened. "There was no leader," he said in a very intense voice. "We worked equally to promote our mission. Henriette just took all the credit." Alvin nodded. He knew he should think of something else to say, but what? He let his gaze drop to the floor to buy some time, but that's when he noticed the man's shoes. Pointy-toed, olive-colored, alligator skin boots. Are you remembering previous passages? They were the same boots that the man at the construction site when they were hiding in the cabinet. It was really great to meet you, but I've got to get going. Alvin backed toward the door, sure that whoever this man might be, he was definitely bad news. But just as he turned to leave, the man grasped his shoulders again. "Why the rush? Stay a while." He led Alvin towards the back offices and into a windowless room where, sitting around a small table, were TJ and the balding, whiny-voiced man from the museum. "Gentlemen, we have a guest." The bald man stood up and grabbed Alvin's coat collar. "Well, if it isn't my favorite little spy. Do you think I don't know what you're up to, you sniveling roaches? Don't look so innocent." The museum guy tightened his grip. I overheard every word you and your sidekick said when you went crying to Vertimate's knee at the museum. And then in your grandfather's little roach milk elven apartment, you had the audacity to kick me in the nose. Yeah, your nose was black and blues for days, wasn't it, Pugnacio? TJ cackled. Shut up, TJ. I would return the favor and crush every bone in your pathetic little body, except I need something from you. Tell me where the rest of the paintings are. Elvin didn't say anything. I get it. You're going to try to be courageous like your grandfather. You see how far that got him? Lights out, old man. TJ snorted. Elvin's heart stopped. TJ had basically just admitted to attacking his grandfather. I don't know where the paintings are. He tried to sound tough. The older man stepped aside and pushed both TJ and Pugnacio aside. I suppose we could have waited for your friend to add the next chapter in a little notebook. Oh, don't look so shocked. We saw you three running from the construction site that day, but we're done playing games now. Tell us what we want to know. I don't know anything. I only met my grandfather a few weeks ago. Why would he tell me something so secret? Besides, those paintings aren't yours anyway. The older man reared up to his full height. Those paintings are payback for the life that Henriette stole from me when she decided to pull that stupid vandalism stunt at the Met. Make no mistake, they are more mine than hers. Sorry to interrupt, boss, TJ tapped. We're going to need to get going. Markham's going to be expecting us soon. Let's take the kid along as a little insurance policy. Pugnacio moved towards Elvin and grabbed one of his arms, while TJ attached himself to the other arm. The older man led the way to a car parked out front. Okay, this is actually called kidnapping. If you take somebody against their will to a place or out of a place, that is the technical definition of kidnapping. At this point, if they got caught, they are up for criminal charges. As soon as the small entourage stepped on the sidewalk, Elvin heard a voice call out, TJ, what up, dude? It was Rad, charging toward them on his board. Yo, homie, stop, TJ called, but it was too late. Just when it looked like Rad was about to crash into them, TJ let go of Elvin and scattered, but Pugnacio held on tight. Thinking fast, Elvin pulled the goat Pez dispenser out of his pocket and jabbed the man with it in his soft, fleshy side. Pugnacio yelped and released his grip, just enough for Elvin to slip away. Rad spun around and slid Elvin his board. Go, dude! He took off running while Elvin skated in the opposite direction. Elvin didn't stop until he reached the apartment. Safe inside, he collapsed on the couch, shaking with exhaustion, fear, and even some excitement. After he had a chance to catch his breath, he dialed Rad. That was awesome. You saved my life. No worries, man. Can I have my board back? No problem. Are you good? I'm safe and secure. I'm back at the Rad pad. Over and out. When Elvin hung up, he noticed that he had a message from Alex, and he called her back. You'll never guess what happened to me. But Alex cut him off. I can't talk right now, but I have great news. I found out your grandfather's awake. He came out of his coma. Can you come by my house tomorrow? We're meeting at noon. When Elvin agreed, she gave him the address and hung up before he could tell her about all those adventures with TJ and Pugnacio. Elvin quickly went online and looked up the visiting hours for the hospital. They were over for the night. He called the hospital switchboard and got transferred to his grandfather's room. But a nurse answered and told him that his grandfather was resting and could not be disturbed. Full of energy, he paced the length of the apartment several times before settling on the couch. The Life of the Invisibles, the book, lay on the other end of the couch where he had tossed it the last time he attempted to figure out the poems. He reached for it, noticing a picture of a goat stamped on the back cover that he hadn't seen before. Was it another message from his grandfather? Elvin cracked open the book, reading now with all the focus and determination he could muster. But the poem still just didn't make sense. It wasn't until he got near the middle of the book that something jumped out at him. It was short and simple. Meet me at the skillet. This is what the poem says. Meet me at the skillet. They'll surely make us something good to eat. I won't have far to travel. I'm just across the street. He remembered the walking tour they had gone on with Rad to look at some of the Invisible Seven murals. There had been a mural directly across the street from the magic skillet. And just like in the poem, he read the poem a few more times slowly. A new possibility suggested itself. Elvin expended so much energy trying to figure out what the people in the poems were talking about. What if the voices in the poems didn't belong to people at all, but to paintings? Elvin quickly dialed Jin. Meet me early tomorrow before we go to Alex's. I need your help. I think I figured out how to find the paintings. Well, that's a big reveal. And we're at our stopping point. What if the voices of the poems didn't belong to people, but they belonged to paintings? Maybe the book of poems, the life of the Invisibles, are clues of where the paintings are. Meet me at the skillet. They'll surely make us something good to eat. I won't have far to travel. I'm just across the street. All right, we have 66 pages left. And we'll be cutting them up over and finishing just before spring break. Again, you can read ahead if you have the book. All right, it's 11:07. In 8 minutes, I'm meeting the 4th grade. At 11:45, I'm meeting the 5th grade. We're going to do fractions as ratios and do some gambling math. Imaginary, of course, not real money. But it's to learn what ratios actually mean by experiencing them. A wonderful lesson. I will see you guys soon. 8 minutes. 7.5 minutes now. Yo.